11th episode of the E27 webinar. And yeah, so we've been doing this, we're trying to doing this like every 2 weeks. And it's been very exciting to see all of you joining and joining us every week. So yeah, my name is Anissa from the E27 editorial team. And before we begin, I would like to explain a bit about what exactly is the E27 webinar and why we are doing this. So it's a series of an effort to share actionable insights, inspiration, and productive human connection within the startup community in Southeast Asia. And we found that this is especially important today, since we are having let's not sugarcoat it, this is a rather difficult time for all of us. And that's why we believe that this is the best time for us to actually learn from each other and support each other in the best way that we can. And generally, as a company, this is why we are here for. This is our mission, to provide entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to build and grow in their companies, especially in times like this. So now, today's webinar is part of our special edition COVID-19 special series. So far we have conducted an episode where we discussed it about how to do remote working, especially when this is just the first time that you do remote working for your companies. And this time, as part of our way to survive the situation, is that we're going to learn about crisis communications, because crisis communication is very crucial for every business, especially in times of crisis. So yeah, and we have two speakers joining us today. The first one is that we have Puja Bharwani, Director of Marketing and Public Relations at Antler, Southeast Asia. Please give a warm welcome to Puja. Hi, Puja.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. I see some familiar names on the participants, so hello to you. You know who you are.
Yay. Okay, and then for the second speaker, so we were supposed to have Mike Pratchett from Shootsta joining us, but because of some force major reasons, he cannot be here with us, and he apologized for that. But do not worry. On the other hand, now we have Gary Koay, Creative Content Advisor at Shootsta. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Sorry for Mike not being able to make it.
Yeah, it's all right. It's it's one of those days. All right. So let's not waste any more time, and maybe we can start right away with presentation from Puja, who's going to explain to us how, as a company, how Antler is dealing with the communication in crisis time, or the basic principles and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I will give the time and stage for Puja.
Hi. Okay, let me just get my presentation up. Give me a second. All right, can everybody see it? Oh, why has it gone to the top? Oh, sorry.
Yep.
All right. So hello, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for joining. I know we're in a really crazy time, and also we're in day 2 of circuit breaker. I love how Singapore, that's a masterstroke of communication as well. Not saying lockdown, but circuit breaker, and that's one of the ways I think Singapore and PMLE have managed this so well with the way they've communicated throughout. So I hope everyone's healthy, safe, and doing well on day 2. Let's dive right in. So I always like to, we all look for quotes and inspiration in people, in leaders and everything we read. And this is one of those times that I was like, silence is not golden. Like you really do need to have a plan on how you communicate in this situation, because people really need guidance. It's a once in a lifetime thing that's going to go down in history books. So let's just all accept the fact that this is a new normal, and then chart your plan. There are many unknowns. We know this will take time, and think of it as a marathon, not a sprint. And instead of wondering and being lost, find the new normal as soon as possible instead of treating it as a phase. Otherwise, it's going to get harder. And I think everybody needs to keep in mind, yes, there will be a post-COVID era, but it's not business as usual. And you need to really have a structured approach to keeping your body, your mind, your team, your business healthy during this time. I mean, for me, as a mother of 3 young children at home as well, and managing this whole thing together, structure is something that, and having a new plan for this new situation, it has been essential. Okay, so communicating in the times of a crisis, as a CEO, as a communication professional, I divided it into 4 categories. Obviously, empathy is highly needed in terms of how you relate to your different people, to really show and understand it. And in a way, this, it's empathy in this situation it can be done because it's the first time ever that everybody is in the same situation. Yes, obviously we have different governments, we have different locations, we have different life phases and situations, but everyone can relate because they're going through this. Contextual connection is something we'll go deep into in terms of the situation that each person is. So which phase your customer is in, and that therefore your business should relate and communicate in that way. And that you'll find out by dividing into different personas, which I'll go into. And then of course, this at a time like this, over communicate. Don't ever think that there's too much. For Antler, we've increased our frequency of our newsletters, our locality of our newsletters. We've ramped up in terms of our town halls that we do, and we try to add some color into it as well. But and one of the things we do when we get on our video cons is put on the video button, because people want to see each other even though they know each other, because the inherent nature of human beings is to communicate and to connect, and I think that's really, really important. So when we talk about empathy, right, obviously if you look at a lot of the stuff that's coming out, when it first came, as everyone was addressing the problem at different stages, it was like some people would be like, try to still keep that business as usual, we're aware of the problem. Now nobody can do that, but it still doesn't matter. You don't have to remind people that we're in a global pandemic and we're all in quarantine, but you can start a conversation by saying, I really hope you're okay, and everyone in your family is okay. So now when I speak to someone that I'm talking to on a video con for business, whether it's to start a new partnership or get them on board for something, I will first and foremost say, I hope you're okay, and there's nobody in your family who's who's sick, who's got COVID. It was really interesting. We were on a conference call a couple of days ago, and with people from all over the world, and 2 people on the call actually had COVID, and I think it was a bit of, people didn't know how to react. It was almost like they could catch the virus on the phone. It was instead, and you need to be prepared for that, because it is so rampant and so global that there's no more a 5th or 6th degree of separation. It's going to come. There's going to be a situation where you're going to meet someone and know personally who's been affected by it. So acknowledge the situation, know what to say. If you are awkward at moments like that, prepare what you want to say. We know it's hard. I mean, this is really what it boils down to. Empathy in terms of personas, I'll go further into that. But who are you talking to? Your customer is important. But if you are in a business that is offering solutions for B2B SaaS, why would your product be more relevant now? So related to that, and also in relation to what your customer is going through, as you see businesses who've had to literally accelerate and fast forward, moving from being brick and mortar or not that remote and digital to fully digital in such a short time. And I think now is the time that businesses really have to ask themselves, what is your purpose for existing? You need to highlight it, because if you can't really showcase that, especially as a digital business, and it's something that you need to dig deep and maybe even pivot for a while, or bring resources in that might help you, because this is something that I think customers are looking for more value now more than ever, because of what's happened. So again, over communicate in terms of how you are adapting to the situation, because as much as human beings need to show resilience and adapting to change, your business as well needs to show it, and you need to communicate how they're doing that. So now, team and work, some of this stuff is very basic and human. It's almost like you need to, but at the same time, this is a situation that's never happened before. So you need to be empathetic, listen, be transparent. Everyone is affected. Everything from office space to contingency plan. I'm sure there's some businesses that, they've got the special pass to be part of the essential services, but most of us don't. And you need to really focus on what drives the business forward, on what keeps the engine going. What are the essentials that need to be done, and what are the nice to haves? This is part of like how a CEO should think. And when they move into this crisis mode and then continuing the communications, always have rituals that you normally used to have offline, continue them online as much, and like I said, increase it. So there is I've also realized that a lot of companies haven't had contingency plans. So we've been having regular calls with our founder community. We have a huge Antler alumni globally, over 1,000 people, where we're giving them, of course, really structured advice on how to maintain their cash runway. The first thing we talked about was office space, because we're lucky we're in tech, and our company is also tech, so they could jump to the remote ship pretty quickly. So these are things that might seem obvious to some, but it really helps putting it down succinctly and in different aspects of what should be done. This is really basic, but you will be surprised at what a difference it makes. A week into our, even this was when the situation wasn't so bad in Singapore as yet, but they'd already started temperature checks. Everything from masks to sanitizers were provided by our own company, and we were encouraged, like, if you need anything, let us know. Now as well, we just had a call, and the first thing was like, what is the one coping mechanism you want to share? These kind of things are so important at this time. And just to hear that for some people, just going to the balcony for a while, just actually having a really good pair of noise canceling headsets and being able to be in your room. We're so lucky that here we can go in parks. So, simple things like having 3-month supply of essential medicine, whether it's Panadol or supplements. And I could probably do a whole presentation on people with kids at home. That's just a whole other thing. I mean, one of the things we discussed just before this seminar started was that I don't make excuses anymore if my kid runs in during a video call. We really are living in a different era right now, and as much as we try to separate, the reality is we are all in these confined places, and the main thing is to keep it open, everything that we discuss. Okay, let me go into contextual connection, right? At the end of the day, like, VCs are still investing. I mean, there is movement happening, and people are doing deals over video calls. But I have to say, if you're currently fundraising, try to close the deal as soon as possible. It is everyone's guess how long this is going to last for. We've been bracing 12 to 18 months in terms, if you look at the long-term effects of this recession. There's so many levels of this. I would streamline connection. Like I'll give you the example for Antler, because we have to speak to founders. Okay, so on one level, it's the team, then it's the founders of our portfolio companies, then it's our stakeholders. So whether that's LPs, you know, all the people who have invested in us. Then we have our advisor network. Then we have our venture partners. So there's so many levels, and the more you streamline and you contextualize the communication that you're giving, it'll be better. So remember that as a company, you want to start having this solution mode on, because as a leader, they're going to look, you know, they will look to the leader of the company to find a solution on, to chart a path, like how are we going to do this? And you should have an alternative FAQs for communications, because not everybody in the company is going to be able to answer these hard questions. So they should be standardized and, you know, sort of, you know, for example, for us, we are, our program is known to, you know, build teams together, and that entails people meeting face to face, because there is that human connection, that chemistry that takes place when you're building a team and starting a company. Now, in this COVID world, what are we going to do? You know, we obviously have to move part of our, or maybe even fully, our program online, but we still want to add that human element. So we are trying to come up with creative ways on how we can still have select people meet to figure out if these people are the right match to start a company. So I would, you need to create a alternative, sort of, not alternative, that's the wrong word, a new FAQs for this new normal. Okay, personas, communicating with customers, you need to show support. This is not the time to sell and be like, you know, my product can solve your problem, but it can support you during this difficult time. You need to very closely track and document, you know, your customer process. What is actually happening? What are they thinking? It is really their time, you know. Even payment plans. I mean, you know, you've seen banks are offering certain hospital, you know, exemptions. We know the government's given an option to defer the taxes. But even in your little part, I know cash is a big thing right now, and everyone's trying to stretch it through to last for the next year and a half. But you need to get creative, because everyone's going through this, everyone's in this together. So how do we navigate through this? You need to show your customer that you're here to help and you understand the situation. We need to move at this point in communication from a business formal, you know, tone to a very personal one, where you're talking about how you're united. We care. We are here for you. That is, you know, when we talk about we're talking about humanity. It's no more, there shouldn't be a segregation. I mean, it's really a time for businesses to think of purpose, for entrepreneurs to think about creating things that are important. I mean, we all have been asked in a way to live with essentials, and you really question at times like this, you know, how much do you actually need in life? So this is the tone that people should start taking. When I talk about personas, this were the 4 categories I was talking about: millennials, Gen X, Gen Z. As a proud Gen X, I think for the first time, we've been given a pat on our back for the way we've been handling the situation, because I think we're the only ones who've seen a pre-social media and pre-internet era. So you know, but we're also caught, because, you know, like just today after the new announcement about visiting homes, it's like, you know, we're in a position where we have in-laws, we have parents that don't live with us, and do we get to meet them? So think really carefully who your customer is in relation to your product, and accordingly address their needs, especially at a time like this, because everyone has different needs, you know, in this situation. Once you've identified your persona of your customer, what's the effect of what has happened in your business, what has happened in relation to your business, right? So, you know, for us, we know that one of the big things is that besides the fact that the program will move online, we don't know whether we're going to be able to get that many people into Singapore because of the global geographical lockdown. Now, how does that work? you make adjustments accordingly, and you be transparent about it. For us, it's like very clear that we want to get people who are already in Singapore for now, because we don't know if countries are going to be open, if travel is going to be open. So really ask yourself this scenario in terms of how it's affected your customer, and then maybe your customer persona and demographic would have fully changed because of what's just happened. Positive examples, Crunchbase it's a super long. I'll send you the link after this, and I'm also going to be writing a piece based on this discussion, so it'll have the resources that I refer to. Crunchbase basically published this piece. I mean, there's so many of them, right? Resources to help build your community and business during COVID. But I just liked the way it was segregated, and of course, it's a specific target market, everything from cloud service companies to enterprise companies to Internet of Things, and they even give you a list of investors that recently raised funds, so who you should target if you are in that growth phase of your business. Funded companies with a majority remote workforce, video conferencing startups, they go back to it's really well done. And what I liked about it is, like, we are here for you, we understand what you're going through, and then the structure is really good. Acknowledge, give solution, go back to the fact that we understand what you're going through because we're going through it too, and this is hard. The second is, of course, I mean, I think it's going to go down in history, Singapore's risk management and PM Lee's communication during this period. Everything from calming the public from being really transparent. Of course, Singapore has been a stellar example, because I don't think any other country has actually been able to communicate so well in terms of everything from the WhatsApp notifications to the contact tracing. And one thing to learn is the beauty of Singapore is that they take the best from all over the world. They don't have, when they were building, they took advice from Israel on how to build their army. They'll take bits and pieces from everywhere, and this is where we are today. And I think in a way, it's sad that the rest of the world is not learning and taking from Singapore in a way, that because we've brought in so much and shared it in the way it's being managed currently. Everything from reserves to the way the government is able to manage the population. I'll use the word manage, and we actually listen because we feel like they've got our back. And of course, I gave the examples of Antler. We are also, when I talk about being part of the solution, this is what we've done. What are we? We're company builders, and we always talk about building companies based on impact and investing in companies that are actually solving real problems. Well, what is the biggest problem right now? It is COVID, and we've launched, we've pledged $500,000 to invest in solutions for, this is the correct solutions based on COVID. We're inviting startups to apply globally. We've received a couple of hundred applications, some really interesting ones, trying to make it not. Trying to really think out of the box to solve problems for not just in terms of the disease and things like ventilators and masks. Of course, that's really important, but also helping businesses adapt quickly to this new world. So we've called out, and we've got some pretty interesting ones. The deadline's April 15th. So if you guys know anyone who wants to be part of this, let us know. It's obviously fully remote. You can apply from anywhere. So this is when I talk about that, I talk about being part of the solution. Yeah, sorry, I just want to go back to this because I missed that. So I did talk about not calling a lockdown, containment versus mitigation, supporting business community. This is all the things that Singapore is doing in terms of crisis comms. Looking ahead, now, it's really important that we, as much as you want to be realistic and aware of the situation and communicate that, you do need to have, as a leader especially, a little bit of forward-looking thinking, because if you don't, that's really sad, because everyone listening needs to have that belief and faith to move on, because it's a hard time. So balance between the here and now, but also think of a post-COVID era. Yes, customer behavior is going to change, things are going to change. We don't know yet what exactly is going to be born out of this period, but at the same time, it's really important that we all think that there is going to be a brighter future post-pandemic era. Now, so I just thought this would be something like, you guys could answer or think about in your communication. I think it's important that you put on a persona as well when you try to communicate. It becomes clear in terms of, what kind of leader you are, so you have what I call like the bold adapter, or, the speed runner. So it's like, they're really focused on dealing with the issues at hand, and it's like, I'm going to focus all my energy into adapting to this current situation, and I'm going to create a new normal, and I'm going to do it really, really soon. So you have what I call the frozen ones, who are kind of like really in denial and keep thinking, oh, this is just a temporary thing, and I don't know what I'm going to do, because I will just decide based on how it moves forward and what the government tells me, and then this point, let's just put all our projects on hold and not really plan anything. I really think you cannot be like that in this day and age. You have the fighter, who is really, really thinking like, I'm going to battle everything one by one, and I will do what it takes to survive. I mean, this is a mindset that I guess in a way entrepreneurs need to have, because it's already so hard being an entrepreneur, and then on top of that, to add all these other layers, you really need to have that spirit, that human spirit of like getting through it. And then you have the here and now, who is so mindful and really deals with one problem at a time. I think all of us should have a little bit of that, because we don't have a crystal ball, we don't have a prediction of how long this is going to last. So think of it in a way that, take a day at a time, but yeah, like I said, have a plan, and pick one battle at a time, because it's gonna take a while, and to actually get there. There's some resources that I'll share in terms of remote work and collaboration and COVID-19 response teams. There's a lot of material out there, and it just but some really, really useful things to get on with stuff. I will put it in the article. So that's it from me. I'll hand over now to Anissa, so that she can decide if, she'll tell you what's happening next.
All right, thank you very much, Puja. That was a very insightful presentation. So yeah, so right now, before we jump into the Q&A session, we're going to hear some presentation from Gary. But I would like to remind all the attendees, hi Gary, that if you have any questions, feel free to put it in on the Q&A box right now, so we can go through it, and then when it's time for the Q&A session, we're going to answer them right away. All right, Gary, so time and stage is yours.
Oh, okay. Let me do this then. And I will do it in this way. Okay, can everyone, I'm guessing everyone should be able to hear me. Hello, my name is Gary. I'll talk about communications and primarily video related stuff. I'm from Shootsta, so a little bit close. If no one knows what Shootsta is, we're actually a video company, production company, but we're also a tech company. Our main goal is to really help enable individuals and businesses to learn how to do video. So we were lucky that when this started happening, we were already pushing this kind of more mobile interactive video space. And that has become even more crucial for people to understand today. So today we're gonna go over a lot about the communications plan, like what should you be doing in this plan? What constitutes a good communication plan? I'll give you a couple tips here and there about what is probably the best practice to plan for. How do you structure a good story in a video to communicate? There is a very simplistic structure that you can take away today to help build how you want to say things and what you want to say in a very conducive way, in a storytelling kind of way. And then I'll show you an example of what Mike, the CEO, who my boss, who was supposed to fill in today, he's actually already done a few for us internally. So I'll be able to show one of those examples, and I'll give you a rough idea of what to kind of do next after all of this is happening, or how to future-proof yourselves for the future. Because I think videos aren't going to go away. I think this has become more of a priority, or even more of a priority given our current situation with COVID-19 and everything. So let's get started. So at the top here, you can see there are 3 degrees that we've kind of highlighted in terms of who's going to be the most priority in terms of communicating with. So the first degree, you got your employees, clients, and investors, right? These are people that should be like arm's length away from you, or the people that you want to be the most transparent with, you know, the most honest with. You want to be realistic about the situation, but also show, you know, as a leader, you want to set what's happening with the business, right? To hopefully, like, everyone's working from home now, so to align business agendas and to get everyone on the same direction moving forward, right? Because I think at this time, there's a lot of confusion to, okay, how I'm going to actually do my work from home, what's happening here. Your employees are wondering, your clients are wondering, how are they going to continue business with you? Your investors are wondering. So a clear communication plans at the very first level here, I think, is probably the most priority, or the biggest priority. Very soon after that is your second degree, your potential hires, your client prospects, all these sort of things. So if you're continuing sales, a clear message in terms of what's happening with your business and what you expect to happen as this situation continues, right? So it's very clear in terms of, maybe you have certain pipelines or sales pipelines where they're like, they were going to purchase, they were going to get across the line. And then this fiasco happened the last month, and then that threw everything off the shelf, right? So letting them know what exactly is your plan might actually help save a deal, might help push a deal, or at least give them clarity on how they can approach and still do business with you guys, or get hired if you're even hiring at this time. I know that's not really a common case scenario at this moment. And then the last one is your general public and overall media, right? I think we've seen a few from, like, I think the Marriott has released a public video. I know our CEO has released our internal video public to show an example of how we've been communicating. So sometimes if your business is okay with it, or is willing to share that, you can share your internal videos as a case example of what you guys are doing, you know, to the public, to show what your business, or how you as a leader are promoting and dealing with the current situation. So these are the 3 degrees of importance or priorities, I would say, before you go publicly. Look to reach out internally first, just to align your business, get them all on the right track again. All right, so what is in a crisis communication plan? So you know, you could do something, if you haven't done so already, is maybe an Excel sheet. And in this communication plan, you can kind of figure out where are all the platforms and different variations of style of communication you want to do. The simple one is usually text, you know, either in your internal communication platforms, or your email, or any of those types of things. If you want to go to the next level and do stuff like on social media and so forth, list out all those channels. Where can they go? Where should they be? And then how can you include them, or why should you include it in a video? Well, right now, and this is something we've always preached before, right? Like, video is one of the best communication tools, because even in this scenario here, like, look at me, I'm right here and we're presenting all this stuff in a webinar, but it's actually a form of a video as well. What it does is it allows, like, this human connection, right? And when you as a leader or, you know, a communication specialist or anything like that can present the information live or pre-recorded, or however you want, in a video, it adds a lot more of that human touch and personality to your communications. And in your communication plans, let's just talk about how to structure a good communication, or to structure your script, right? So in your scripts, across all the 3 degrees that we just discussed, you want to be consistent with your message, right? So you don't want to tell one person one thing and then, you know, another person another thing. You can refrain from sharing certain sensitive information, but at least be consistent with your communication. Then you want to be able to set expectation. I think Puja, you mentioned a great example of Singapore, right? He said Long and the government, right? They were consistent with their messaging. They didn't shy away with the current problems we have, but he then set expectations, right? I remember in his very first one, he mentioned how if everyone started panicking, this could be potentially worse than the actual virus. So this is what people should be doing. This is what you should be thinking about, and so forth. Do take it seriously, but do not freak out, right? So setting that expectations. And then at the very end, I think that proves that end point as well, is like state that clear directives. What are people really supposed to focus on so that you can kind of help them alleviate the stress, what's going on, and really focus on the agenda at hand here, one thing at a time. And if you as the CEO or leader here is building that pipeline, be clear about how we or them should be able to follow through with that. Okay. In the video, so if you're going to create a video, we have a set rule in Shootsta where we teach and enable clients with, and this rule is the 3-10-30 rule. This is really in accordance to opening up the video, so the introduction of the video. And it's fairly simple. Most of us actually probably communicate like this naturally, but we don't know that we are doing it. So if you have the time to script yourself, it's actually good to kind of give it a thought and really plan out what and how you want to say certain things. So it starts really like this. In the first 3 seconds of the video, you want to kind of highlight something like a big statement, right? We're in a time that's unprecedented. That's a very easy one. So in the first 3 seconds, you want to state something that's going to grab attention and get people focusing on the video. In the next 10 seconds or so in the opening part of the video, you want to set the scene. This is like setting context, right? Whether it's what's happening in your business, what have you been doing already, all these sort of things. And that helps bring context to the actual video that people are going to be watching. And then at the very end of the introduction portion, before you get into the nitty gritty of the information you want to disseminate, you want to set a clear communication message, right? In this video, I want to talk about the next steps that we as a business are going to be able to go through under these things, and these things. And then once you've actually set that kind of objective for the video, then us as the viewers who are watching, we know exactly why we're watching the video and what I'm supposed to receive from the video. And then that will actually help make the video more interesting and actually create a more understandable video, right? I think a lot of times, especially for people that are getting into video, they start the video with information and then they just go info, and then they try to conclude with something. But before they get into the conclusion, a lot of people might be a bit confused about, what is this video about? Like, why do you just keep telling me information? So it's really important to set that introduction very clear at the beginning, so anyone who's watching has a very early start and understanding of why they're watching and what they're watching. Okay, so that is the kind of general structure for the introduction for the video. So once you're able to do that at the beginning, then go ahead and talk about all the things that you want to talk about in terms of your business, what's happening, what's going on, what should people do, and then at the very end, you'd want to conclude with something like the clear directives that you want to have people do. If you forget any of this, the easy, simple way to do this or remember this is, back in the day when we were learning how to write essays, there was that clear introduction, body of information, and then conclusion. Basically, a story is that. So if you can use that same idea, that analogy, and build out your script, you'll have a more kind of whole, that to me is what creates a great story. And this is quite critical for your communications. So if you do it in video, you can show authenticity. You can prove your conviction with kind of what the company is supposed to do and align everything. If you take some time and build up a kind of template around your communications, it would make it a lot easier for you to readjust or recreate another video or another communication piece as things currently are, you know, unexpected right now, right? Things could change on a dime today, tomorrow, and having some sort of template base at this time would help make you, will help give you the ability to create new information quicker in a timely manner and then produce that and disseminate the information ASAP for everyone to kind of take into account. This is a little piece of data that we like to share at Shootsta with video communication. So in videos, the viewers tend to be able to retain up to 95% of the message opposed to just reading it in an email or text. I'm not saying email and text stuff is like, you know, out of the question. It's just video has shown to be a lot easier for the viewers like yourselves to absorb the information, because what videos are actually doing is allowing the viewers to kind of absorb the information based on a visual stance, in an audio stance, and also in a psychological stance, right? So it's very easy for the audience to just sit there and absorb the information. Right now, I'd like to share with you a video of our own CEO. This is Mike Pritchett. I won't show you the whole video as there is some information in here, but I'll show you the very opening beginnings to kind of to show you how he's done kind of that 3-10-30 rule and opened up with a clear objective, a clear message at the very beginning. And if you actually watch the rest of the video, he breaks it down into different pieces and what we as the company should be all moving forward with in terms of what's happening today. So I'm just going to play it for you and hope you can enjoy.
Hey team, as you've no doubt noticed, we're going to be stepping up the comms considerably to keep you all fully informed with where Shootsta stands in regards to COVID-19. This is a horrible time. We're all seeing it at every turn, especially if you're on social media. Some of it's hysteria. Well done, Australia. And some of it is very real. For the sake of clarity, I will break this video up into 3 clear sections: medical, financial, and psychological. Firstly, medical. Your health and the health of our communities are the first priority for us at Shootsta. We will be taking decisive action ahead of our own government-enforced guidelines and joining many of the large companies around the globe. There will be 4 clear categories for us at Shootsta. We will be in flux between these over the coming weeks. Number 1, business as usual. Come into the office. Number 2, right. Voluntary self-isolation.
I will show you the whole video as it's a 5-minute video, but just skip to as he breaks it all down here and use this as a kind of example. So you can see he talks about, he opens it up, he adds a little bit of humor in it. He gives you context in terms of what he personally has seen over the last week. I think this was given out or sent out probably a week or 2 ago. At that time, we here in Singapore was already in, I think, the level 3, the recommended self-isolation series. And then last week, he released another video saying that we are now all on a mandatory work from home series. But before he actually, you know, released the more recent one, we as the internal company already knew what were the variant procedures that we should follow. And obviously this went out to multiple countries. So even later, he says later in the video how every VP in the different regions will help guide their teams in terms of what areas of work from home everyone's going to be facing. But obviously early enough, we put certain things in place and told more people to work from home unless it was absolutely necessary that they had to come into the office, which was really helpful to help us all build what we should be doing and what we should be focusing on. And then he gets into like other business things later on as well. But to me, that's what kind of represents a good opening. And you can see how it easily kind of flows into the next part, which is basically all that detailed information that he wants to talk about. But in the introduction, we know exactly what's going on, what he's going to be talking about, and why we're watching the video. I think this is a very important part to any video that you want to create. So So here's some, I guess, ideas or steps that you can take right now. First, to ensure that you are ready, not just for right now crisis, but for future crises. So the stuff that I mentioned before about trying to template out your communication plan in terms of where should it be going, how should you be doing it, and then coming up with a rough drafted script, right? In the kind of introduction, middle information, conclusion format. You can even write kind of paraphrasing questions in that script template to help you remember what you should be saying in this different sections of the script. And then feel free at this point to add your personality in it, right? I think Puja, you were talking about the personas and stuff. Who are you in this video? Who are you as a leader? This is an amazing opportunity to kind of really showcase that leadership in this time of unprecedented kind of atmosphere, right? This is a good opportunity for you guys, for leaders in every, not just CEOs, but just leaders of teams and so forth, to kind of step up and show those leadership skills and get in front of everyone and help spearhead the things moving forward. Once you can do that, once you've been able to disseminate all that information, then it's about adding value back to your consumers, right? How are you changing your business? It might take another conversation internally to think about, are you going to change your current business model, change your business plans? Is there another way to work around the current situation, knowing that everyone's kind of facing the same situation? And can your business model be able to, can it adapt to give back the value back to the consumers and continue giving the value back to your clients? Then once you're able to do all of that stuff, then hopefully your business is not in a drastically fluctuating state anymore. And you can think about what kind of stuff can you look into to help give back to the community? Because we're all in this currently together, as Puja was saying as well. It's not just like this company versus that company. It's like us as a humanity are kind of all going through the same thing. So any form of help that doesn't directly affect your business is going to be great help, right? And to me, coming from a video, branding background, if you can help other people do things better and it doesn't affect your business, right? It's a great branding opportunity to show that your company means business when it comes to helping others or whatever agenda or whatever brand your company wants to build by giving back to the community, right? Openly, wholeheartedly, just to help everyone out, right? And this will help build that kind of brand recognition. And then very lastly, the show must go on. At the end of the day, even if you do or don't do these things, right now the situation is you can win by not losing. I think I heard this on LinkedIn by another friend of mine on LinkedIn, and he created this story where he was saying currently there's going to be a lot of businesses, and we've seen this already on the news, just really struggling right now. And the best thing that you can do is to just not lose, right? To hang on, pull all the strings together and just keep your business functioning, maybe at the bare minimum, but surviving the whole current situation. Because if you can survive, or when you do survive, you win automatically because you're just not going to lose. And I thought that was something I wanted to mention to everyone watching right now. Talking about giving back to the community. So here at Shootsta, this is our version of giving back to the community. We've been working, I already mentioned that we normally help enable our clients to learn about videos, how to shoot videos, settings, anything from, I think, mobile filming, all the way up to, more fancier rigs based on our products and so forth. So we've already been building this kind of e-learning portal for our clients. But since this has happened, we very quickly, I think last 2 weeks ago, we opened up a lot of that information to the public now. And we've also, last week, we had a big crunch on our creative service team to build out another 23 other tutorial help videos around mobile filming, filming from home, best practices to do things from home, how to shoot with basically what you should already have access to at home without getting too complicated. So please, everyone, feel free to go to www.shootsta.com. At the very top in the bar, you'll see that little learning click there. So if you click that, you'll be able to go into this area, and here you'll find, I think, up to 15 different categories of things you can learn, both from filming at home perspective, or even just upskilling yourself on the video agenda for the future. This is what we've always been doing. And in each section, there's a clear kind of learning. So each section could have like maybe 4 or 5 videos inside it to kind of help you go through certain things that you can actually learn from home. If you have time at home right now, it's a good opportunity to kind of take that initiative, learn a couple new things. And with any new thing, take some time, practice, have fun with it, and try it out, right? Experiencing it is the best way to be able to absorb all this new stuff. And then very lastly, I guess, if you guys want, please connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Gary Koay. Once again, just add me, contact me. I'm more than happy to help if I can, or help answer questions. I know we'll be doing a Q&A right after this, but yeah, add me as well. Just throw me a message, or you know, I'll be trying to create more content when I have the time and post them on my on LinkedIn as well. And I think that will conclude my presentation. I hope that was helpful for everyone, and I will send it back to our hosts.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. That's a very comprehensive presentation from you, and also thank you. That's also, yep. Okay, so now we're going to the Q&A session. We already have 2 questions on our question box. So yeah, let's. Wait a second.
Oh.
There it is. Okay, first we have a question from Taufik Hussain. How should a branding and strategy company handle or upgrade communications in this time? Okay, so the assumption here is that they already have a guide, and then how to upgrade it for in times of crisis. So maybe Gary, would you like to start first, or Puja?
Sure, I did touch upon it. Basically, it is a new situation, so it kind of needs a new set of guidelines, and the strategy should be, what is your main objective at this point in time? Is the message that you want to get across is that, you know, your employees are safe, business is going to continue, and communicate your action plan in terms of what you're doing on various levels, whether it, and it really depends on the type of company you have, how much runway there is, you know, what are you trying to, you know, address, and the type of message you're trying to give to your employees. If you need to lay off people as well, that needs to happen slowly in stages, but be transparent, understand where they're coming from, and be very clear of what is expected. Gary, I think.
Yeah, to upgrade communications at this time, I think it's fair to note that in the current situation, when I'm talking about videos, I think any form of video is better than no video at all, right? I think previously we always ran into problems with wanting to have really high production value, things looking like super clean and neat and tidy. And although that's great to have, if that's not an option for you, then I think having something that disseminates the information easier and, you know, in a way that is reachable to, you know, on multiple platforms, internally, externally, and so forth, just having that video and that clarity from that leader will help brand whatever brand company, you know, your clients are doing. Because right now there's actually not a whole lot of that. A lot of people are talking about it, but not a lot of CEOs or leaders directly are coming out and speaking openly about it. There's only been a handful, right? And those people who have already done it, they are the ones that are going viral right now because they're getting, you know, the acclamation of even being willing to talk openly about this in the public area. So that might be something that you can look into to help your clients if you're a branding or a strategy type company. I think that's how should I?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
in the context of branding it.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the answer. So now we're moving on to the next question, which is from Riga Seti. I'd be curious to hear of any cases of startups and companies who have tweaked or changed their offering or business model in response to COVID and how they communicate that. So are you guys aware of any cases about businesses changing their direction and then how they're communicating these changes?
I can speak for Shootsta.
Yeah, I mean, even for us, we can say that, as I was saying, like we're moving our program online as much as we can. You know, also one of the things is we will then look to get more founders who already have teams or ideas in place versus like individually, which was something that we were known for, because we don't brand ourselves as an accelerator. We brand ourselves as a startup generator or company builder, where we take individuals without an idea or a team. But you know, so we, not that we're still not doing that, but we given the current situation and the inability to have people meet face to face, we need to keep that in mind, that we need to look at people who already know each other and bring them into the program. So that's one way. But just from what I see around us, you know, everything has moved online, whether it's teaching for certain lessons or food companies that never did delivery before are trying to do it right now. So everyone's adapting everything from gaming, you know, to make it more available and widespread.
All right, thank you, Puja. And yeah, so we also have another question. I think this is quite interesting. So how much should you, or do you even have to avoid always making a connection to COVID when doing your communications without being insensitive? So should we always pulling it back to the topic of the big C word nowadays, or is there any way that we can avoid that without being out of touch with our customers and stakeholders?
That's a very good question, but it really depends on what phase of the COVID journey each country is in, and in terms of who you're talking to. Because yes, I mean, it's a fact that all of us need to actually stop reading the news after a certain point in time, because it's so gloom and doom and so negative, and everyone knows that it's happening. We're living in it. So you don't, I would say you don't constantly have to mention it, but you need to take note of it and not come across. So when you're talking about something, let's say you're launching an initiative for COVID, whether it's offering a discount or you know, you don't have to use that "we are in this together, we're doing it for you" tone, where it's like, instead of saying we are so pleased to be doing this, it'll be like, just launch it. You know, we are doing this, everyone knows why you're doing this. So yeah, so you don't have to keep bringing it up, because it's kind of like omnipresent now. But be sensitive in the tone versus explicitly saying it. So less is more sometimes. Just be respectful, I would say.
All right. Okay. So yeah, we basically have exhausted our question list from the box, and I also noticed that we're also running out of time at the moment. So yeah, I would like to make some little conclusion about what we have discussed today. So basically, it's very crucial for brands and companies to have their communication plan ready during in times of crisis like this, and then transparency and sensitivity is also very crucial. And it's also very important to choose the right medium to communicate those messages to stakeholders and customers. Like, for example, video is one of the one that is being proposed here. So yeah, thank you very much, Puja and Gary. It's a very insightful discussion. Hopefully it will be useful for the rest of our attendees. So yeah, Puja, if they want to reach out to you, how should they connect
Yeah.
with you?
Thank you so much, Anita. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Puja Bharwani. Also, I have a profile on e27 that when the article comes out, you can see that. But LinkedIn would be the best way to connect.
All right, great. And
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we close this, I would like to remind everyone that on April 23rd, same time, 1:30 p.m., we're going to have another episode of E27 webinar. And this time we're going to talk about branding and marketing. So keep in touch on our social media. We're going to announce the details of the speakers and other details. So yeah, connect with us.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for our speakers today. It's been a very great session. All right, have a great day.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.
Bye.